inviting me.
She can empower communities.
She can run businesses.
She can conquer the world.
She can create an impact.
She can change the course of the future.
She can be inspiring.
She can bring the light.
She can do what not.
In the lasting change. She can create a vision like no one else.
She can use her voice for those who are not heard. She can make the impossible possible. She can be classy, intelligent, and fun.
She can create a culture where everyone belongs.
She can turn her pain into power, vision into victory.
She can because she's the only one. She can support and empower women
Not because she has to, not because she should, but because she wants to.
because she can.
Theme of the year is Because She Can. We are today redefining the future. And this is a call for women to embrace their power and their potential.
YFLO welcomes our past chairs today. Ms. Sheetal Ansar, Swati Kayasri, Ms. Divya Singh Suri, Ms. Garima Jain, Ms. Avarna Jain, Ms. Trupti Gupta, Ms. Anchal P, Ms. Takashi Singhania, Ms. Manjula Lamba, Papa CJ
we're expecting a comedy show. नहीं होता. We look at our problems through the eyes of other people. We are able to get clarity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Indian Ocean with a big round of applause.
Thank you for inviting me.
She can empower communities.
She can run business.
She can conquer the world. She can create an impact. She can change the course of the future. She can bring alive. She can do what not.
Bring about everlasting change. She can create a vibe. No one else.
She can use her voice to make the impossible possible. She can be classy, intelligent, and powerful.
She can create a culture where everyone belongs.
She can turn her pain into power and her vision into victory.
She can because she's the only one. She can support and empower women.
Not because she has to, not because she should, but because she wants to, because she can.
Theme of the year is Because She Can. We are today redefining the future, and this is a call for women to embrace this power and their potential.
YFLO Delhi welcomes our past chairs today. Ms. Sheetal Ansal, Ms. Nancy Bharatram, Ms. Divya Singh Suri, Ms. Garima Jain, Ms. Aaradhana Jain, Ms. Tripti Gupta, Ms. Anshul Sethi, Ms. Atashi Singhania, Ms. Mandira Lamba, one and only, Papa CJ with us.
Expecting a comedy show. Look at our problems through the eyes of other people. We are able to get clarity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Indian Ocean with a big round of applause.
Thank you for inviting me.
She can empower communities.
She can run businesses.
She can conquer the world.
She can create an impact.
She can change the course of the future.
She can be inspiring.
She can bring alive.
She can what not?
Everlasting change. She can create a winner like no one else.
She can use her voice for those who are not heard. She can make the impossible possible. She can be classy, intelligent, and powerful.
She can create a culture where everyone belongs.
She can turn her pain into power and her vision into victory.
Because she can confront it.
She can support and empower women.
Not because she has to, not because she should, but because she wants to, because she can.
Theme of the year is Because She Can. We are today redefining the future, and this is a call for women to embrace this power and their potential.
YFLO Delhi welcomes our past chairs today. Ms. Sheetal Ansar, Ms. Divya Singh Suri, Ms. Garima Jain, Ms. Aaradhana Jain, Ms. Kaveri Gupta, Ms. Shi Singhania, Ms. Matira Lamba, one and only, Kaka CJ with us.
Expecting a comedy show. We look at our problems through the eyes of other people. We are able to get clarity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Indian Ocean with a big, big round of applause.
Thank you for inviting me.
She can empower communities.
Run.
She can conquer the world.
She can create an impact.
She can change the course of the future.
She can be inspiring.
She can bring alive.
She can do what not?
She can bring about everlasting change. She can create a winner like no one else.
She can use her voice for those who are not heard. She can make the impossible possible. She can be classy, intelligent, and powerful.
She can create a culture where everyone belongs.
She can turn her pain into power and her vision into victory.
Because she can.
She can support and empower women.
Not because she has to, not because she should, but because she wants to, because she can. Theme of the year is Because She Can. We are today redefining the future, and this is a call for women to embrace this power and their potential.
YFLO Delhi welcomes our past chairs today. Ms. Sheetal Ansar, Ms. Garg, Ms. Divya Singh Suri, Ms. Garima Jain, Ms. Kaveri Jain, Ms. Priti Gupta, Ms. Ankur Warikoo, Ms. Akanshi Singhania, Ms. Mantira Lamba, one and only, Papa CJ with us today.
Expecting a comedy show. We look at our problems through the eyes of other people. We are able to get clarity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Indian Ocean with a big, big round of applause.
Thank you for inviting me.
She can empower communities.
She can run.
She can conquer the world.
She can create an impact.
She can change the course of the future. She can be inspired. She can bring life.
She can do what not.
Everlasting change. She can create a win like no one else.
She can use her voice for those who are not heard. She can make the impossible possible. She can be classy, intelligent, and powerful.
She can create a culture where everyone belongs.
She can turn her pain into power and her vision into victory.
Because she can.
She can support and empower women.
Not because she has to, not because she should, but because she wants to, because she can.
इसी ट्राई करते हैं। मेरा नाम आसम नाचपाती करता हूँ। एक बहुत चाहिए तो यहाँ कौन से चाहिए ड्राइंग चाहिए और पेंटिंग रंग चाहिए।
Good afternoon, YFLO Delhi. It's so good to see all of you here on a Tuesday afternoon, standing by the good work we are trying to do for each and every one. We have an action-packed evening planned for you with one of the country's most dynamic public speakers, Ankur Warikoo. But before Ankur joins us, we are going to take you on a journey about what lies ahead this year for you at YFLO. To kickstart the proceedings, please welcome Divya Jain, YFLO Chair, Delhi.
God, this is so intimidating. A very good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here today on a very warm afternoon, of course. We just made it a little bit hotter with all these amazing women in the room. So I will just take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I think when we were planning this event, we said 3:30. A lot of you on the groups is like, but when is Uncle coming? And we're like, we don't really want to tell you. We wanted to steal a few hours of your time, and we're in that you have given us these hours. So we started it at 3:30 because we wanted you to get to know each other. We wanted us to get to know you. So again, thank you so much for being here and giving us this time. So we wanted to have a little bit of networking. You know each other's names when you see each other at the next event, next party. Maybe you'll walk up to us to each other and say hi. The second thing we wanted to do is steal 45 minutes of your time. We'll make it tighter. We'll take 30 and talk to you about the amazing work that the team is doing. You come for, a lot of us come for events for a few hours and then we go away. But FICCI and YFLO is much larger than that. FICCI is one of the oldest business bodies in the country. It was started in 1920. It was started with the freedom fighters. It had Mahatma Gandhi, who was actually instrumental in helping us put this body together. And it has a lot of power. And YFLO itself has a lot of power because we're the young women of the country sitting in the seat of power, sitting in New Delhi. And we have over 500 of our members who are here today. So I just wanted to take these 40 minutes. I keep negotiating on the time, but 5, okay, Ankur will start. But we just want to take this time for you to maybe understand the power that each one of you hold, and more importantly, the power that all of us hold when we come together. There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, and I wanted the teams who are doing a lot of this work to come to you, talk to you about it, and really initiate conversations and hopefully get you more and more involved. When I started the year, we said that there are 4 pillars that YFLO works on. The first is the pillar that we all know about, which is, of course, the learning events, speaker events, where we call celebrities and the anchors and the Ed Rogers and the Papa CJs. But I think that's the one thing that everyone sees. The other 3 pillars are incredibly important. The second is community development. Like I said, we're 500 women together who are entrepreneurs, who are professionals, who are mothers, who are change makers. We can give back to the community. We can influence opinions. More importantly, we can raise our kids and our children to become better human beings. And I think this is power and it's also responsibility. And this is the responsibility that the community development team is working on. And I would love to give the floor to them to talk about their work so far and the plans for the year. So without further ado, I ask you to give a large round of applause to this team headed by Rashmi Anand, with again a group of fantastic women, but I'll let her talk about it. So,
Please come. Just give us a second. Let the team come. Good afternoon, everyone. And please come, Ekbar Sare. Yes. Please come. Please come, Payal. So maybe I can just start with the last slide there.
You'll do the rest of the PPT.
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Divya, for such a warm welcome. And first of all, I would like to introduce the community development team. We have with us Shivantika, Divya, Soumya, and Damit. They all have been working with us day and night to implement the programs that we have done in last 1 month, to plan the whole set of activities that we are planning to do for the next 1 year. And of course, the whole thing is happening because we have a great leadership. We have Divya, we have Pyle on board. So they have been very helpful to support the whole thing, to talk out every plan of action. So I would like to start the afternoon with a very powerful quote, that somebody sitting in the shade today is because somebody planted a tree long back. And this is what we intend to do this year at YFLO Delhi. We want to create plans and plan every project which would be on a long term and sustainable. And that is how we have been curating the whole year for you all. Because She Can is the theme of the year, and we all have been exploring different opportunities, how we all together as women entrepreneurs are creating different events, and together we can also bring a change. And I think we as women have a very powerful thing that nobody else can do, and that is we all can create a life. And that is the name of a project, which is called Project Life, as the part of community development. So, thank you so much. And each word has been designed and developed with some meaning behind that will take you through. The vision of this year would be to reach and impact at least 1 lakh lives. And me and Divya were discussing about this number, that what number should we put. And I think this is what we discussed, ki numbers bade hone chahiye. एक हमारे पास goal होगा, that is how we will try to bring that change. And this would not be possible without you all. And we intend to bring that change. We intend to impact 1 lakh lives this year, directly and indirectly. This cannot be possible without you. And this would be all with the long-term sustainable projects. So this would be the vision of the year. The mission would be to provide quality education, the health camps which we have been doing over the years, to ensure that our development projects is also sustainable with the environment, and to create 5 women entrepreneurs on a long-term basis. So just to give you a snapshot of what we did last month. So the year started with 5th of April, and the first event that we did was the wishing tree. And during the whole month, we were able to collect 273 blood units. We were able to collect and distribute 1,000 plus resources. 48,000 were collected, and total lives that were impacted was around 688, and 2,000 plus were indirectly impacted. And I think today we are on the mid-May. We are on 15th, 16th May. And we are happy to declare that we have raised more than 1,20,000 till now. We are able, thank you. We are able to impact, we'll be able to impact 200 plus lives this month. That would be in the form of wishing tree. And this month, 20th, we have an event wherein we are intending to plant 500 trees. So this is just a snapshot of what we did in the wishing tree. So these were the 100 not so privileged kids. We identified them. We ensured that their wishes were fulfilled, starting from basic like Guriya chahiye, remote wali car chahiye, followed by the education resources for next 1 year for them. This was the donation. This was the blood donation drive, which was initiated by our CSR team member Damit. Our company has initiated this along with YFLO, and 278 blood units were collected, and the collection drive was happening in the Faridabad and the industrial areas. So we got a lot of health supplements and other food materials that we intended to give it to different NGOs. And we also planned that before even going forward with all the organizations, we will first do a Reiki. कि किसको किस चीज़ की ज़रूरत है. We should know what the organization is all about and is the need genuine before we fulfill the need. And that is how our other CSR member, Divya, she organized 4 groups and she went to different organizations. She assessed the needs and that was followed by the health supplement distribution. Today, we have the need list of the 4 organizations, which after the value and the assessment, we are able to take that forward. So these are again the pictures from the old age home. These are the 2 NGOs, Sune and Ayudan, wherein we given the food supplements. And even if you have all gone through the wishing list, we also have the need resources of all these 4 organizations. And I would like to call the team members to describe about Project Life.
Thank you, Rashi. Hello, everyone. I'm Daman. So, Project Life is about because she can create a life, as already mentioned by Divya, our chairperson, because she can. So, we connected with that. And L is learning library. So, we are launching a mobile toy library for needy kids, and that's the whole idea behind this. It will start by the launch of collection truck. The members will be appointed area wise, and the truck will be stationed in a particular area where the toys and the books will be collected from the members. And then there will be segregation of books and toys as per the kids' age. There will be a creation of toy library, like you can see in the picture, and thus we will ensure happy smiles all over. Then there is I, which symbolizes institutional developments. This is taking care of the various institutions, NGOs' needs and requirements, as mentioned by Rashi right now. And the project name is Project Do Nation. So, Do Nation means donation. So, we just symbolizes like do a donation for the nation. Then we will ensure to fulfill every quarter. We will reach out to 4 NGOs and assess their needs. And we will shortlist the need of the organization based on Reiki and evaluation. What we did, like as Divya said, mentioned that there are 500 members in our YFLO team, and together we realized that they have specialized work field, like for example, there were water tank manufacturers, there were almira manufacturers, there were health supplement providers, and there were stationery manufacturers too, which we have known now. Then there is F, which symbolizes financial and digital literacy, which we will ensure creation of 5 women entrepreneurs and making them self-reliant in span of 2 years. And the project name for this is She Leads. So here we will give specialized training session and we will align our vision as mentioned by Rashi towards the empowerment of women. And then at last, there is E, which is environment and empowerment, which is ensuring sustainable and clean environment through tree plantation and other energy source drives. So that project name is Enviro Power. So it's basically tree plantation drives, as Rashi mentioned, that we will be having on the 20th of May. The invites to be followed soon. And we will ensure that we create 2 YFLO gardens this year. Member engagement, Rashi, would you please?
So just wanted to quickly run through. So we recently rolled out a message which was all about asking all our members who would be interested to be part of the community development program and would like to join us. And surprisingly, the response was great. We have created a special interest group, SIG group for community development. We have 35 members who have volunteered there. And the best part was when we just put up the wishing tree Excel sheet over there, in the span of 12 hours, I think it was less than 12 hours, the 100 kids, the educational resources, half of the needs of the organizations, and half of the kind needs that we wanted were sorted. Why? Because we as team members, we as YFLO members could do that. And that is how we raised our bar and we said this year, wishing tree second part, we will do 200 kids and just not 100. And the second message would roll out to all our members who were not part of SIG. And that was also done in the span of 24 hours. And I think this is what we can say is because she has all the power and we are bringing that change. And we still ask you all to be part of this member engagement because without you all, we can't do much. As part of the member engagement, it's a very famous thing that when we give something, we get lot more in return because kuch karke hame bhi acha lagta hai. That is why I think we all also give back to society. And we want all of you to come forward. Please reach out to any of us if you want to be part of the SIG or any of the community development programs. Then be the part of the change. Through this, you'll also build your network and business generation, of course, because this as a group is trying to create business, give business to all of us. So that will also happen simultaneously. Sponsorship and company branding. So a couple of people who have reached out, we have shared that deck also. You can share again on the group. People who want to sponsor can come forward. We will ensure the right branding will be taken care of in the form of your logo, in the form of invites, your logo on the events, social media introductions, and other things, which has all the details in the deck that will share with you soon. And individual acknowledgement from YFLO, that's a small gesture that we all can do because you all have been doing so much for us. Alliances and partnerships, because we all know so many people across Delhi. For example, when we reached out for Almira, so I think 10 people said, "Ki, "Acha, hum log inko jante, we can get the stationery, we can get this." And within a span of 2-3 hours, everything was sorted. So that is the whole meaning of getting the right partnerships in place. And we have introduced all the team members. Please feel free to reach out to us and follow us on Instagram for all the updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rashi. Thank you so much, community development team. Thank you so much for the entire SCS community dev SIG, the special interest group, for being a part of this. Um, so great. So we've got two pillars. The first is learning. The second was community development. I've got the third one. This is a very fun one. It's networking. In our first event, we had Papa CJ, who didn't come as a comedian. He came as an executive coach, and he used a quote by uh, Rupert Kipling. Sorry, he used a quote which I loved, and it was, "The strength of the wool is the pack. The strength of the pack is the wool." So for us to be a strong set and a strong pack of wolves, it's important that we come together, integrate together, and for that we have an amazing integration event and events plan. I will call on Surgi Modi with Rashi, Rajni, and Varda, who are going to talk about um, two large integration events that we're planning. One is, of course, next week, and then I'm going to keep the second one a surprise. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Divya. So, I mean, after that very enriching work that the CSR committee has been putting together, I'm very excited to announce our next integration event, which will be next Tuesday on the 23rd of May at the Gaurav Gupta store. And it's going to be about inclusivity. He just had his debut at the Paris Fashion Week. And so he basically wanted to talk about that, but he also wanted to talk about his journey. And yeah, it's going to be his journey. It's going to be a little bit of fun. It'll be a lot of just interaction and networking. And yeah, we'll have a little party. I hope you all can join because it's quite a limited event. So, you know, literally fastest ever for us. So please sign up. So guys, this is our next event. Um, can we also have the retreat? So actually, we're quite excited. We're quite excited to announce our annual retreat, which will be to Hampi. Hampi is a ancient town in Karnataka. Even I didn't know where it was on the map before I started working on it. It's not the easiest place to get to. It's 10.5 hours, but this is going to be the first YFLO trip, which is going to be on a private charter. It's going to be one of the largest retreats. So we try to compress that 10.5 hour journey into 2 hours so that we can spend more time there. We're going to, of course, have a lot of private access to a lot of impossible locations. It's going to be a little bit of history, a lot of new friendships, I think some old friendships, and a lot of mayhem. So I hope you guys can join us. I'm, go- I'm going to introduce my retreat co-chair, Rashi Jain, to say a few words.
Yes, Survi. A little bit more about Hampi so that you all get more excited. Hard to describe the landscape of Hampi to someone who's never seen it with their own eyes. Local people believe that Hanuman, the monkey god, once had Hampi as his kingdom, and the giant boulders which sit in the mountains around the landscape were placed there during monkey's army wars. Certainly, if you stand at sunset and gaze down at the green rice paddy intersected with giant boulders, it seems there's something a little out of ordinary going on in Hampi. The town sits in Karnataka state, wedged between Goa, Kerala, and the expansive Tamil Nadu. The small town on the banks is worth the trip away from the coast, for Hampi is a unique place to anywhere else in India. A world of temple ruins, spirituality, blended with a laid back lake, swimming, and exploration. It's truly a gem of South India, and if you're not yet convinced, the town is recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I hope this excites you more. I now welcome the co-retreat chair, Rajni Jain, to give some more.
Hello, everyone. So we will be opening up the registrations in the following upcoming week, and it will be fastest fingers first. So be prepared to register and block your spot. We are working very hard to make this into a very spectacular retreat for all of us. So, and there are a lot of special permissions also involved that we're working on. So don't miss out and support us by following the registrations and booking processes to make this dream a reality. Lastly, I would like to extend thanks to Encompass, Taruna, and Bhavna to coming on board and planning this adventure with us. And the teams will be coordinating alongside us for this trip. Thank you very much.
Hello, ladies, and even more beautiful ladies. Can we have a big round of applause for the retreat team, please? And I hope you all are excited and sign up as soon as possible. So now to warm up the room before we get Ankur in, we are going to play a little game or we have an exercise to get to know you better. The question is, what does YFLO mean to you? And we're going to go around the room and ask each one word, which will go up on the live screen. And when Ankur comes in, he will do his bit and try to collate it as a community. And what does it mean? So, Radha, can you start
So
with the
the
first
first
word?
person we'll ask is one of our past chairs, Mrs. Vasvi Bharatram. Vasvi, the first thing that comes to mind when you think of YFLO.
Learnings and friendships.
Anybody else? Please raise your hand. It's just one word. Someone from this side?
Women power.
Women in power.
Women's empowerment.
getting inspired.
Sorry? A girl's date. That's very interesting. Anyone this side? Creating a community. Enriching lives. Impactful. I think let's give our team a moment to just type all those beautiful words out. So I hope you guys are getting excited because Ankur is going to be here any minute and we are going to use this to do a little bit of an exercise with him. So please get those words coming now. You had something to say?
Inspiring.
Inspiring.
Impactful.
Power is someone said power.
And collaborative.
Collaborative.
Energy.
Energy.
Place for new and exciting discoveries.
New and exciting discoveries. Awareness.
Community development.
Experiences.
Anyone at the back? A change from the routine. That's the best answer, I think.
And there's
And
one
that's
very
exactly
interesting
what
one
we
from
want to be
Tanya.
in your life.
Girls trips.
From vision to reality. Working for a higher cause. Do you want to name the cause? What cause is it?
Like sustainable development or something giving back to society.
Okay, giving back to society because she can. Thank you.
Good vibes.
Good vibes.
Self-development.
Okay, self realization and self importance. Thank you. That's a good one. Let's see how many
Development.
words do we have. Oh, wow. That's a really lovely collection. I hope everyone's taking a picture of that because
That's great.
this is being curated by all of you, by our members right here, right now, not in an MBA program, but right here in YFLO. Anyone else? Okay. Opportunities. Do we already have that? Opportunities.
We have another word, upliftment.
Okay. Unique experiences. Anyone else? Okay. Creating a better future. Okay. So why don't we have a look at the words that we already have? It's learning, community. Yeah. Can we add support? Can we add support? And let's see that as a slide so everyone can read it more clearly.
So what we have here is a word cloud, which shows that what our community stands for and how we can build it and make it a more of a support group, which we will make Ankur reflect and tell us how he can do it since he's a mentor and he talks a lot about community development.
Okay, so now Kaveri, would you like to bring? Let me get Payal in to do the introduction.
So now the time is here to introduce our fabulous guest, the one and only. So please put your hands together and stretch your legs when enters Mr. Ankur Warikoo.
Ladies, I don't think that applause was loud enough to allow him to come in. No, I don't think it was still loud enough.
I think he's taking his time. He's supposed to be there. Sorry, just bear with us for 2 to 3 minutes. He should be here any minute.
Okay, ladies, we have Ankur Warikoo in the house. Can we have a huge round of applause? Louder, louder round of applause, please. We have Ankur in the house. So, our guest today is a renowned and highly acclaimed motivator, an internet entrepreneur, author of the bestsellers Do Epic Shit and Get Epic Shit Done. He teaches and engages with over 300,000 students for their self development and growth. He's a content creator, and over 8 million followers follow him on social media. I think my numbers are right, right? He's also a renowned mentor to many startup founders. Ankur himself has founded nearby.com, and he was the CEO from its inception in 2015 until 2019. Prior to that, he was the founding CEO of Groupon's India business from 2011 to 2015 and head of Groupon Asia Pacific from 2013 to 2015. Please join me once again in welcoming Ankur Warikoo in the house with a huge round of applause.
Thank you.
Now, without a further delay, I will turn the proceedings back to Kaveri and Aaradhana for them to take this session forward.
Do I sit in the middle?
I don't think you have an option.
Thank you.
Thank you, Payal, for that introduction. Hi, Ankur. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
So, just to start with, before you came in, we did this little exercise with our members where we asked them what is the first word that comes to their minds when they think of YFLO. So the answers are up on the screen. And what do you make of it? Any first thoughts from you
I,
before we start the conversation today?
I love the fact that everyone's centered around support and awareness, which is so central to how we look at our content. And very rarely do you find a community, I'm sure you all feel it that way. Very rarely do you find a community where you almost feel like everyone's life is in some way similar to yours. And there's this connect that you form where, like, I can be open and I know that I wouldn't be judged or looked at or have a biased point of view. It's wonderful. I've had the pleasure of being at several YFLO chapters across the country in the recent past, and I'm so impressed by the level of activity, engagement, and support that this forum offers to all of you. So thank you for making it happen, and I'm so glad to be here.
I think that deserves a round of applause for us. Should we take a
Yeah.
seat again?
Yes.
So the format today is pretty open. We're just going to jump into a few questions for Ankur. We're going to ask some of you who had sent in questions to ask your questions, and then then he can sort of be amongst you. You can ask your questions, anything that comes to mind. So I'll let Kaveri start.
Okay, so Uncle, we all know you've had a long journey from a doctoral student to senior management to now a mentor who millions of us adore and love. How have you gone about these shifts in your life, and what decisions you took or made it easy to take these shifts? Because we also, as women, as a community, go through lots of shifts. So we want to understand where you are coming from.
Perfect. That's a good question to start, and a really long one if I start to answer. So I want to just measure the lay of the land so that my responses are relevant to all of you. How many of you here are entrepreneurs, founders? Okay, great. How many of you are working professionals? Few of you. Great. How many of you are mothers? Quickly.
Bad gun
You,
question.
you don't have to. I don't want to go to the qualification. Like, how many of you are happy mothers? How many are like, oh my god. Some people are actually so cute raising their hand. They're like, I'm a happy mother. And how many of you have been running a business, whether the current one or previously, for more than 10 years? Wow, quite a few of you. 5 to 10 years? Okay. And 0 to 5 years? Okay. Perfect. Great. Um, I will not assume that you know about my life because I'll be frankly very pompous, but I wouldn't want to waste time if most of you know about it. I'll very quickly give you a summary of it so that you have the context of where I'm coming from, and then Kaveri's question will come in. I um, I wasn't meant to be doing what I'm doing right now, which is a story of my life, and I reckon a story of almost everyone here in this room because we thought in our school we'd be doing something else, and here we are doing something dramatically different from what we thought out. I wanted to become a scientist. That's all I cared about in life when I was growing up. I was very, very focused and super clear on where I wanted to be. It was in the US, not in this country. I wanted to go to the US, get a PhD degree, join NASA as a space scientist, and be the first man on Mars. This is all that I cared about. This is before Elon Musk has come into the picture. Huh? So none of this is polluted by anything that's happening in the current world. Mars, for people who were absolutely into the space and grew up in 1980s, 1990s, that was the destination to be. अब वो बहुत cool सा destination बन गया है. So it's become like the Missouri of planets. But back then, it was like the place that very few people even thought we could go at. So I went to the US. I actually joined a PhD program. I went to Michigan State University, and in 2 years, I realized that's not what I wanted to do. So much to my parents' dismay and the shock of everyone who knew me, I dropped out of my PhD program, came back to India, and started my life all over again. I did not know what I wanted to do. And it's not that I come from a family where माँ पापा की business or जायदाद और ज़मीन मेरी wait कर रही थी. Come from a very, very middle class family. My dad has worked in a sales and marketing job all his life. My mom taught in a primary school all her life. We had a very, very humble background. In fact, when I came back from India, my dad had started his business and he realized he was a terrible businessman. So he made some really bad calls, not by design, but we were under financial debt. There was nothing that was working. And on top of that, इकलौता बेटा जो जिंदगी बदलने वाला था, ड्रॉप आउट करके वापस आ गया है. Worse, I had a girlfriend back then, so everyone was like, bad call. And I had to start my life all over again. And it just so happened that I came across ISB, which was a 5-year-old school at that point of time. It was nearly not as cool as ISB is today. Back then, it was a big gamble. And I took that gamble by taking a massive education loan and went to ISB. That year just absolutely transformed me because I got to spend time with people who were far sharper than I'd ever be in my life. And all that I did was my mouth open, just hear them conduct their life, and was like, boss, this is the place where I could genuinely learn everything that I want to about life. And I did. I then joined consulting. I was there for 3 years. And in 2009, a lucky break happened, which got me into the startup world. My first venture was this venture called secondshadi.com. It was India's first matrimonial website for remarriages because we realized that there are so many people who get married in India. Fun fact, 1.1 million people get married in India every year. But we don't have a very high divorce rate, but there are still on this large base enough people who get divorced and widowed every year, and they don't have a platform to get married again. So we started secondshadi.com. And the day we started, we were like young kids who hadn't even married ourselves. We had no idea what shadi is about. लोगों की दूसरी शादियां करवाने जा रहे थे. And on day one, like newspapers were like social crusaders, समाज बदल रहे हैं, ये करने वाले हैं, वो करने वाले हैं. नहीं, हम तो सिर्फ like business चलाने वाले थे. So it became a very different thing than what we decided or thought of. But it was fun because we learned a lot. I personally learned so much being an entrepreneur. And things happen, things happen, things happen. Long story short, in 2019, I was running a startup called nearby.com. And that startup had been running for 4 years. We were wonderfully funded. We had got acquired by Paytm. We were the largest local commerce business in the country, doing about 600 crores of sales a year, profitable. And I stepped down from the CEO position of that company, deciding to take a break because I wanted to figure out what else could I do in life. And it just so happened that in 3 months that I had taken a break, COVID happened. The entire world went for a toss. And the one thing that I was deeply passionate about all my life, which was teaching, suddenly came to the forefront because I had time, people had time, none of us had anything else to do. So I just started teaching everything that I had learned, which was not hard. ये physics है, ये chemistry and math. I was like, this is what I've learned in life. This is where this is where I learned from others. This is what I wish somebody had told me when I started up, and somehow that connected. And today I spend my time in three things. I create the content that you may have seen on social media platforms. I also run my education company, which is something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm going to devote the next 10 years of my life, if not more, doing it. And then I'm also an active investor and mentor. Back to Kaveri's question, because there is a question that still hasn't been answered. I tend to give really long answers, so please be beware when you ask me the very open-ended questions. क्या क्या किया है जिंदगी में? Like, how much time do you have?
I have all the time. How much time do you
I
have?
know, like Aditya, say hi to Aditya. He's the one who makes all the videos on Instagram, all the short-form content. He's so bored of listening to the same stories again and again. He's like, अंकुर आपको जिंदगी और जीनी पड़ेगी. मैं फिर से ये नहीं सुन सकता. Like 10 crore बार हम ये same चीज. Um, my life has had multiple very unusual twists and turns, which at the face of it sound extremely crazy, and to some extent they are. But I'll tell you how I thought about them when they did happen. The first crazy thing was dropping out of my PhD and coming back to India. It was wild. This was 2004. Nobody dropped out of their education. Least of all, if they went to a place that they wanted to on a 100% scholarship, they were top of the class. They were on a fast track program to complete the program that they always wanted to do. This was exactly what would have changed the destiny of not just that individual, but their entire khandan. And yet, I was crazy enough to say, मुझे वो पसंद नहीं आ रहा है, तो मैं वो सब कुछ छोड़ के वापस देश आऊंगा and I'll start my life all over again. That was crazy decision number one. Crazy decision number two was I was in a consulting job, getting paid more money than I ever thought I should ever get paid. flying business class, staying in five-star hotels, sitting in boardrooms of really large companies, telling them on how they should be running their business. This is the Excel sheet that I have made. This is my understanding of their business, of which I had no idea until 2 weeks back. And I was like, how does this make sense? Why aren't you throwing me out of this room? But they weren't throwing me out. And those 3 years were just such a great experience, earning money, spending time with super smart people on businesses that were really meaningfully large. And then dropping all of that to join shadi.com. And my parents were like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you keep taking these decisions every 4 to 5 years and forget the pain you inflict on yourself? Why do you keep inflicting it on us? They didn't get that. And I can understand as a parent today why they wouldn't get it. So that was crazy decision number two, quitting consulting and joining a startup in 2009 when startups was nearly not cool a word as it is today. Right? Today it's fashionable. I am CEO. Back then it was like you didn't get a job and that's why you started up. Crazy decision number three. In 2015, I was the executive working in this really large company called Groupon, managing Groupon APAC. And I was in the top 30 people of the company, flying to Chicago every quarter for those board meetings and whatnot, earning insane amount of money in stock and cash and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we should do something about the business that I am most passionate about, which is the India business of Groupon. And I knew that Groupon could not do much about it because their biggest businesses were US and Europe, which were meaningfully large. So the center of their attention was also these two markets. And I was like, if they can't do anything about it, I should do something about it. So we went to Groupon Global. When I say we, I mean the senior management of Groupon India. And we said, we want to buy the Groupon India business from you. And we want to make it into an independent entity. Nothing to do with you because you can't clearly do a good job of that. And they were like, what are you talking about? Like, you're a 100% subsidiary of a publicly listed company listed in the US. This thing has never happened before. And I was like, well, that's not the reason it can't happen. Here's the reason why it should happen. It took about 9 months of convincing, but we were able to pull that off. We partnered with Sequoia Capital and we bought the Groupon India business from Groupon in 2015, and that became nearby.com, which was the startup that I was running until 2019. So that was crazy decision number three, where we were like, why wouldn't you just do what most people would give their left arm and right leg to do? Be part of this nice, happy global company, रुतबा, शान, शौकत, पैसा, insane things. Like नहीं, मैं फिर से स्टार्टअप करना है, वो बिल्कुल मगजमारी, वो मजदूरों वाली आदत, वही शटर बंद करना, खुद और खुद खोलना रोज. All of that happened all over again in 2015. And then crazy decision number four was Nearby has become a 600 crore company. It's profitable. It's the first time it's hit profit. And I thought that that would be like the start of a new era for me. And much to my surprise, I felt exactly the opposite. कि मेरा वक्त खत्म हो चुका है. I have nothing more to give. It almost felt like, oh, which you will all be able to relate to if you haven't experienced that already. ना कि बेटा बेटी 18 साल के हो चुके हैं, घर छोड़ चुके हैं, हमारा फर्ज निभा लिया हमने. And now they are on their own. We don't have anything to do, and we can actually now start living our life. And that's how I felt. And that's what I did. I stepped down as the CEO of Nearby at the peak of what Nearby was beginning to become. And people now call it a master stroke because in 3 months COVID happened and Nearby's business went to zero. They're like, did you know? It's like, no, I did. But the reality is that that was crazy decision number four, which people just didn't fathom around of why I would do that. So as it may seem like I'm susceptible every 4 to 5 years to make these crazy decisions, people are now waiting for 2024, 25 ki ab kya pagalpan hone wala hai. I think the way that I see my life, which could be a great starting point for a conversation this evening, is anybody here who's gone to a casino? Regularly?
In the house.
What's up? Okay, never mind. I asked this question. I've never had this percentage of audience raising their hands. Did you organize like a casino flow chapter?
Not yet,
or
but I
something
think
there?
we should very
Yeah,
soon.
look, Divya's always up to something. But imagine that there's a casino, which you've never been to. This is a casino that I've started, and the casino has only one game. But here's how the game is played. The game is rather a crazy game. You win 10% of the times. You lose 90% of the time. It's set. The house has told you that already. And here's what happens. No matter how much money you bet, no matter how many times you play, you're going to lose 90% of the times. But the beauty about that loss is your loss will be capped. So you know exactly how much is the maximum you will ever lose. You know the maximum you will ever lose. You can never lose more than that. Your loss is capped, but you are going to lose 90% of the times. The 10% when you do win, there is no cap, nothing at all. You could win enough for an entire lifetime or for the next 7 generations. You have no idea what that will be. It'll only be 10%, but there is no cap to how much will you win. My question to you is, how many times would you play this game? How many times would you play this game? And you don't have to give the answer to me. Think about the answer in your own head. I'll give you my answer. I'll play that game every single day of my life. I will play that game every single day. I will become the maniac that you see at casino, just slotting in the coins, putting in the machines, and just waiting for that to happen. Here's the reason why. My loss is capped, my upside is infinite, and all that I have to do is just wait for that upside to happen. I don't know when it will, but I know for a fact it will. I just have to play long enough. That's life. That's exactly how our life is. That's exactly, and particularly this audience. I wouldn't make this claim usually on the streets, but sitting in Hyatt fucking Regency and in this air conditioned room when it's 44 degrees outside, and we're all of black colored seats, and we all coming from privileged backgrounds. We've been to the finest places to study. We clearly are working, making money, making things happen. The beauty about our life, whether you appreciate that or not, is that your loss in life is capped. You're never going to lose beyond a certain, forget an amount, even a certain stature, even a certain standing. If you do worry about it, that's all in your head. You'll be worried about, oh, what will people say if I'm not, whatever, flying to that place or flying business class or getting that bag or making that much of revenue in my business or whatnot. All of that is in your head. But none of us are going to die of poverty or hunger. None of us are ever going to be on the streets. None of us will ever see a day where we'll have to sell shit to make shit happen. Our base is covered. But because of that same privilege, our upside, infinite, infinite. We are possibly in the best position where we are at the center of all the activity that's happening in this country right now and will happen for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm very long on India. You are at a position where you're in your 30s, in your 40s, just ripe for that next 10, 20 years of commitment coming through. You have a brilliant support system, not just in flow, but in everything that you do in your work. You're mature enough and wise enough to not make foolish decisions that you would have if you were in your 20s. And we're also, hopefully, not as addicted to the world outside and living in FOMO as, say, Aditya and his peers are. Right? We are like, we may give some shit to what people are doing on Instagram, but we don't die over it. Like, we don't like, oh my God, my life's a mess because somebody is wearing Air Jordan. How many of you no?
A good question
Yeah,
to
that's
ask.
like how many of you here have Air Jordans? Okay, I'm glad that the number is less than 4%. Nothing against them, but I don't know why you would pay 70 grand for a shoe. Unless you watch the movie Air, which I would love for all of you to. It's a great movie. Long story short, all that I've cared about is I firmly believe, and I'm sorry if I'm ruffling a few feathers here. I firmly believe that life has no purpose. We were not born on earth to do anything. We had a meaningless rather, we had a meaningless birth. We will have a meaningless death, and everything in between is where we add meaning. For me, the meaning is I don't want to die feeling any sort of regret. I genuinely want to die on my bed saying, "मैंने life बहुत बढ़िया से जी है." And if that's the only goal that I want to care about, then I couldn't care two fucks about what the world thinks of me. I have to live on my terms, and that means my loss is capped, and I'm fully aware of it. I will play every single day the game of this life because I'm waiting for the 10% upside and I don't know what that upside will be. I'm just constantly waiting and constantly surprised at what that upside has been in my life so far. And not surprise, surprise, I'm not the smartest person I know or you will ever meet, not the most hardworking person you will ever meet. I have no special qualities that set me apart from any one of you in this room. I think the only reason why I'm here and possibly you think you may not be is because I play this game every single day of my life. While most of us, unfortunately, are like, you know what? Let me just play it safe. I don't even have to go to that casino. I have a wonderful life. I don't have to gamble my way through. I don't have to bear any risk at all. No loss. Why should I? But I look at it completely different. When I'm like, even if I have to lose, there will never be a loss as big as anything that will hit my life and take it away. I'm not going to jump off a plane anytime soon. So just play this game, play this game, play this game because the 10% upside. I just make it
Yeah,
happen.
because we also deal with the point, "Log kya kahenge?"
Exactly. Please.
No, but they want to hear it. You talk about all this when you're talking about entrepreneurship or in corporate world. But just a little question: But you have the same mentality for your relationships as well? Like,
Are you hinting towards something? No, no, I will tell you where I adopt this. So, from a relationship perspective, I'm the least qualified person. I married the only girl that I dated, and that was at the age of 20. So, I just completely lucked out, and I hope she believes the same way. Which is why I don't bring her to such events because it's like, "Kahan phas gayi main?" Uh, I genuinely believe finding the right partner is just such a random luck event that I could like Ruchi and I, we stare at each other so often. It's like, how the hell did we just end up together and still are in it in such a beautiful manner? She's my manager by now, so she manages the entire business side of our brand. We've worked together now for a year and a half, 2 years almost, and it's been such a transformation working together because I did not expect it to be so awesome. Where we are hardly discussing work because most of us, both of us, have a different way of working, but it's just wonderful how we connect together. When it comes to friends, say that again. Yeah, oh, I no, she is incredible. She's incredible. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. 100%, 100%. And she never take the credit for that, but she'll always be there. When it comes to friends, I have a very strong stand. Most of us are like this breed of Sholay, "Teri jeet, meri jeet, teri haar, meri haar, zindagi bhar rahenge." And I'm like, no, that is the wrong way of thinking about it because people change and people have different growth rates. And you have to fire your friends just as much as you hire them. You have to fire friends. You have to remove them from your life because there are people who don't even recognize. There are people who don't even recognize, and please don't do it right now because then that'll be awkward. It's like,
The
you know,
room
I was
empty
like,
out.
you're like,
YFLO forever.
I know exactly. Like,
Can
cut
we have
me.
the slide back?
Uh-huh. I and the biggest one, sorry, just and the biggest influence is how Ruchi and I are acting as parents because I feel that that is the only gift we have to give anymore. And we love being parents because I feel that we are very different parents. And we're not playing the normal game of what parents would be. Funny enough, we had a very meaningful conversation with Vidur, our 12-year-old, yesterday. And he studies at Pathways Gurgaon. Anyone who has that's great. She's like almost sheepishly raising her hand, like वो IIT नहीं जाएंगे. I hope you know that. तो उनको जेई के लिए प्लीज तैयार मत करना क्योंकि वो बर्बाद हो जाएंगे अगर उन्होंने वो कोशिश करी. प्लीज बाहर ही भेज देना. हमने तो वही प्लान किया हुआ है. So they had this annual fest, which I don't appreciate because it's the notion that is there in the woke world of today where every kid has to get a medal. And no, that's not how life works. You are setting them up for failure. But ठीक है, school करते हैं और इतना पैसा ले लेते हैं, कुछ तो दिखाना ही है. तो वही इवेंट था जहां हर एक बच्चे को कुछ ना कुछ सर्टिफिकेट, कोई ना कोई मेडल मिल रहा था. एंड द किड्स हैड टू, बियॉन्ड द एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट्स व्हिच द टीचर्स वुड शो, दे हैड टू आल्सो स्टेट देयर ओन थिंग्स, व्हिच I'm sure all of us in our school also did, right? कि elocution contest में participate किया था और वहां वो टीचर ने कुछ वो स्टार बना दिया था हाथ पे, सब कुछ लिखा हुआ है उसमें, everything possible. But it was all academic. All of it was academic. And Ruchi had given me the responsibility and I failed at that. She was like, why don't you just share whatever you want to share about Vidur? And I had made that draft and I didn't submit it. But my draft was, I couldn't care less how much Vidur scores in his examination as long as he remains the person that he is and Uzma, our 6-year-old. Because all that we care is, are there nice human beings? Do they genuinely care about themselves and about people around them? वो ज़िंदगी में डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर ना बने, स्टैनफोर्ड ना जाएँ, ज़िंदगी में पैसा भी ना कमाएँ, जो घर झोपड़ी में रहना चाहें, कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता. हम उनको तो पैसे नहीं देने वाले हैं, which is a principle that we have. At least they're aware of it. We're not going to sponsor any of their life after their education. But we are not centered on them living a certain life. And we're certainly not centered on the life being very at the same status as where we are and how the world looks at it. कि देखो अंकुर वारिको, रुचि वारिको के बच्चे क्या कर रहे हैं, वो कर रहे हैं, उनकी ज़िंदगी है. But we recognize it's a very, very different way of living life, but it's again centered on just playing.
Ankur, coming to one of your fortes, which is mentorship, we would like to know who have been your mentors and why is having a mentor so important in life?
I'll start with the second one. Having a mentor is extremely critical because you can't figure shit out on yourself. And you're not meant to. Like, why would you put that pressure on yourself? However, what people make the mistake of is that they put the pressure on somebody else, which is easy, but it's not how it works. So I have had multiple mentors. In fact, the second book that I wrote, Get Epic Shit Done, the acknowledgement section of that is dedicated to all my teachers, most of whom do not know me. Because that's the way that I've lived life. Most of my teachers do not even know of my existence because I learn from observation. I learn from the content that I consume, from the books that I've read, from movies that I've watched, from people whose life that I've tracked. And they have no idea about my existence. But I just constantly keep absorbing. And in some way, I keep thinking, what would X do in such a situation? And X becomes like my virtual Dronacharya while I'm the Prahlad trying to figure out bow and arrow shit without giving my left thumb or right thumb or whatever is it that Dronacharya asked for. But that's for a different day. I believe there are 3 mistakes that people make when they think of mentors. One, they decide the onus of mentoring them has to be on one person. It's not possible. Please have multiple mentors in your life. Have people whose opinion you value in a certain discipline. So have a finance mentor, have a relationship mentor, have a work mentor, have a sports mentor, have a ex mentor, and give them the joy of being specialized with what they do and not have to bear the burden of your entire life. That's one. Second, don't think of a mentor as somebody who's very far away from you where you are in life. For example, a lot of 20-year-olds write to me as like, "Oh, can you be my mentor?" And it's like, you know what? Even if I could, I would be a horrible mentor to you. Why? Because at the age of 43, there are some things that are so fundamentally ingrained in my life that I don't even know how I got to them in the first place. So when I speak to you as if you should know that shit because it's just so obvious, but at 22 you have no idea what I'm talking about, you will not feel that I am being wrong. You will feel that you're dumb. That you can't get it because this 43-year-old successful alpha male has clearly done something in life and what they're saying must be true. So if I don't get it, I must be the dumb one. And that's what happens when there is a massive gap between where you are and your mentor is. So look for mentors who are no more than 5 to 10 years from you, ideally within 5 itself. And number 3, look for mentors who don't think like you. You don't want somebody saying you're thinking the right way or you're thinking the same way. You actually want somebody to call your bullshit out. You want somebody to show you the mirror. You want somebody to be absolutely honest, even if they're being critical of you, because that's the only way that you will get a different point of view. When you get this three as a concoction, you have a mentor. It could be anybody, best of all, your own self, as long as you can serve these three purposes.
Uh, who have been your mentors? Can you name
As I
some
said,
people or books?
I, from a book's perspective, there's so many. I could let's start from Twitter because that's a place I spend a lot of time with. I see Twitter is a person I spend a lot of time with. Naval Ravikant is an entrepreneur. How many of you know of Naval Ravikant? How many of you do not know of Naval Ravikant? That's perfectly fine. You don't have to look at him. That's perfectly okay. Mentors, by the way, don't have to be adopted. कि वो उसका mentor है तो मेरा भी होना चाहिए. None of that works. Naval is an American entrepreneur. I love his thoughts. He's both an entrepreneur and a very deep thinker, very philosophical in his approach, which is where I tend to be as well. So I really benefit from his thoughts a lot. Adam Grant is a great guy. He's a professor at Wharton of human psychology. I adore his work. There is a lady called Mel Robbins. If you have heard of her, if you haven't, please follow her on Instagram. She's a kick-ass woman. I love her thoughts. There is a lady called Susan Cain who wrote this book called Quiet, how introverts can make their space in a world that can not stop talking. If you're an introvert or you associate yourself with introvertism, then Susan Cain is certainly one that you should pick up. There's a lady called Carol Dweck who wrote this book called Mindset, which changed my life when I read it in 2008, 2009. It's the concept of the growth and fixed mindset, which just blew my mind when I read it. So many other names. My mom, because it's just nice to say it on Mother's Day. But if I were to truly answer this question, and I'm not being pompous, a lot of people don't relate to when I say this. My best friend is just me myself. I am my best friend. I am rational with myself. I know my secrets. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I'm always honest with myself. I know exactly why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, or I can sit with myself to find that out. And I don't think anybody will ever get to that point of clarity that I have with my own self. So I don't even allow anybody to bear that burden or for me to put that pressure onto themselves to make that happen. I have a very small group of friends that I care about actively. I don't need a big circle to be happy in life. I'm very happy being with myself and with that small group. But most of all, I think the biggest relationship that I've struck gold with is the one that I have with myself. And I often see people struggling with just that. And that's why we keep seeking relationships externally with people, finding joy and meaning in those external relationships when we find that there is a gap within. And that's something that I've really worked hard on. And I've got to that point. Thank you.
So, Ankur, many of us here, including yourself, are parents to young children, and this younger generation potentially faces several existential crises such as climate change, global warming, artificial intelligence, lack of political cooperation. So, what skills and values should we collectively give to this next generation, and how do we prepare?
How many of you are scared for your kids? I love that. Very nice. I love that. Uh, what are you scared about? Just shout out. What are you scared about? Sorry?
The virtual world they live in?
The virtual world. Okay. TK. So the virtual world, AI, AI.
Are they going to be happy?
Are they going to be happy?
Excessive
Okay.
competition.
Excessive competition. A lot of pressure. Too much stress. Okay. Are they going to be capable standing on their own feet? Lack of self motivation. Okay. All right. All right answers, but all wrong. Uh, go back to school. Right? Every one of you go back to school. How many of you were somewhat stressed in school or worried about where your life is going to be? How many of you were somewhat stressed in school or life is a liars? What?
This is a
Like
team
this
out.
group is suddenly like, I don't know what this group was thinking, but मैं बहुत chill थी. Yeah, no, high five, exactly. Okay. Did you know what's going to happen to your life? No. And you were okay with that? You were okay with that? Why do you think your kids will not be? Let's talk about that. ऐसा उनमें क्या नहीं है जो आप में था, जिसकी वजह से वो जिंदगी नहीं जी पाएंगे और आप इतने अच्छे से जी गए? You're not the mentors to your kid. Do you? You're not the mentors to your kids. Great. So there wasn't enough competition.
Social
When
media.
our entire comparison set was, and sorry, I'm standing and intimidating you, but you're okay, right?
Go ahead.
Our entire competition was our school kids and our colony kids. That was it, right? Sharma ji ka beta was a real entity. It was actually someone that we knew, not some hypothetical white-hat junior 12 crore saal ka ad that was there. Today, the entire world is a comparison set. It doesn't matter how smart you are, there'll always be at least a million people who are smarter. Because kids at every age are just killing it left, right, and center. At the same time, this world is also perhaps the best time to be alive. Because if you really think about it, what were the kind of opportunities that we were sitting on? Limited. And even if there was such intense competition, not for the fact that there was enough and more for everybody, there wasn't enough for everybody. It was not driven by capability. There was a time in our country where everything was determined by who you knew, how rich you were, or access you had, or the network that you possessed. And of course, some smartness got you into the IITs and the IIMs and the aims of the world and so on. But more often than not, getting a government job was a sifarish, getting a contract was a sifarish, getting work done was a sifarish, getting a telephone connection was a sifarish, getting a car or a phone connection was a sifarish, getting a stupid watch was a sifarish. Everything was a very different world. Here's the truth. If I were to have this conversation with our parents and ask them how they were feeling about all of us, they were shitting in their pants as well. All of them were. They're like, कुछ नहीं होने वाला इनका. ये 7 किलोमीटर दरिया पार करके स्कूल नहीं जाते हैं. Like ये literally चल के स्कूल जाते हैं. जिंदगी में उन्होंने कुछ सीखा नहीं है. बसों में ट्रैवल करते हैं. कोई आइडिया नहीं है कि झुलसती हुई गर्मी में क्या होता है. अब एसी बसें आने लग गई हैं. लाइक वो ब्लू लाइन, रेड लाइन दिल्ली में चलने लग गई है, तो ये 15-15 रुपए दे के बसों में ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं. हमारा पूरा महीने का खर्चा 15 रुपए होता था. इनको भूख लगती है तो मैगी खा लेते हैं. That was what our parents were like. Like डीडी मेट्रो छोड़ते ही नहीं है, स्टार टीवी पे लगे रहते हैं, बोल्ड एंड ब्यूटीफुल देखे जा रहे हैं. That was the world. Like Baywatch was a thing. And that was the fear of a lot of parents at that point of time. Now we're living with a very different fear. The beauty about the human mind is that whatever we experience as a parent is frankly our own possessiveness and insecurity manifested on our kids. There is a guy, and if you can, I wouldn't necessarily recommend him to everyone, but there's a guy called Dr. Kapil Gupta. Dr. Kapil Gupta is, I don't know how to describe him, but let's call him a philosopher. This was another thing. Angrezi mein bolna. I don't know what the big deal is. And be honest with me. Don't fucking lie. How many of you speak to your kids in English? Hey, mix to pata hai. Mixed is the easy way out. How many of you speak more than 50% to your kids in English? Honest. This is a bunch of liars that I have come to who are just trying to portray and project a certain image. I will walk out that door and not remember any of your faces. Believe me. I will take a selfie, be very respectful, but I will not run into your life. You can be truthful. I don't get why parents speak in English. I genuinely don't. None of us have English as our first language. Am I right when I say that? Unless somebody here was born out of India and was raised there. None of us. Do we genuinely think कि अगर हम उनसे अंग्रेजी में बात नहीं करेंगे, वो जिंदगी में अंग्रेजी नहीं सीख पाएंगे? Do we actually think that way? नहीं. So why do we speak? Because we believe that that's the only way they are speaking when they go to school. Isn't that the exact reason why we should not? Because school में तो वो वैसे ही सीख रहे हैं. आप उनसे हिंदी में क्यों नहीं बात करते हैं? या अपनी मातृभाषा में जो भी हो, चाहे वो पंजाबी हो, बंगाली हो, कन्नड़ हो, तेलुगु हो, मराठी हो, जो भी हो, why wouldn't you speak to them in a way that they can most likely comprehend? Because that's the language you speak to when you're speaking to your spouse or to your parents, or is the usual language. The reason why we do that is because English is a fucking status game. It is. Don't bullshit me when you say it's not. Oh, it's the business language of this country. Of course it is. But they will learn that thing. They are kids. They will learn anything within a month that will take you 2 years to. So it's not the problem that they can't figure it out. Any one of us, did anyone here grow up speaking English in their household? No? Okay. Two of you? Perfect. So the two of you don't answer anymore. Okay. Is any one of you here ashamed of how you speak English today? You figured it out? Is anyone here the smartest person ever alive? No? You figured shit out? Your kids will as well. Answer this question then, and don't have to answer it to me. Why do you speak to your kids in English? And when you begin to ask this simple question, you begin to recognize how, as a parent, we are setting them up for a very, very different life. That has nothing to do with the world that they're living in. It's our insecurity and possessiveness manifesting. So Dr. Kapil Gupta, getting to that point, says, and this is a book that you ought to read if you do before dying once. The book is called Atmaman. Atmaman. Atmamun. It's a really hard book. It will destroy your life because it will challenge every single notion that you've lived with in this life so far. And the biggest hard hitting chapter in that is around parenting. And it will say that the worst thing parents can do to their kids is to be their parent. The worst thing that you can do to a kid as a parent is to be their parent. Because what do we do as parents? Exactly the same thing that we're doing right now. We manifested कि IIT करना है, we manifest कि अंग्रेजी सीखनी है, we manifest कि एक certain ढंग से बोलना है, एक certain रुतबे से बात करनी है, लोगों के साथ ऐसे बोलना है. The same thing that our parents were also trying to, in their own capacity, in their own way, and we still worked out fine. But when you begin to portray how you think they should live life in this world because they don't know any better and you do, you're basically feeding them to such an extent that they will decisively fail. And I'm not pointing to your kids when I say that. They will decisively fail because what you did was never told them why should you do something. You kept teaching them how they should do something. And when you teach somebody how, they will never know what to do when that how changes, which is bound to change in the world of the future. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody can. Look at where we have come from. 2007 में आईफोन रिलीज हुआ था. 2007 में 16 साल हुए उस बात को सिर्फ. 16 साल में दुनिया बदल गई इस फोन की वजह से. सोशल मीडिया तब तक इतना बड़ा नहीं बना था, व्हाट्सएप नहीं था, टेलीग्राम नहीं था. Anybody here who's on Discord? Anybody here who's on Discord?
Me.
Do you even know what the fuck Discord is? Your kids do. They are spending time on it. It is their social network because that's the place where parents don't hang out. And that is just the start. It is a world that they're creating for themselves, led by AI, led by virtual. That's the world they will be in. The only gift you can teach your kids right now, why should you do something? Go to the fundamentals. So our kids, and I'm sorry, it sounds so pompous when I say this, like almost like यही है सही तरीका जिंदगी जीने का. Our kids have their own room, and उस room पे एक दीवार जो है वो blackboard paint से paint हुई हुई है. Which is a beautiful thing, by the way. तो हम blackboard पे लिखते रहते हैं. तो सबसे ऊपर जहाँ कोई भी बच्चा नहीं पहुंच सकता, विदुर ने सीढ़ी चढ़ के values लिखी थी. The three values that we want them to care about. Frankly, beyond these three values, we couldn't care less of what they go on to do in life. Number one, respect. Respect for others and respect for yourself. Just because of how you look, how you talk, where you come from, how much you earn, doesn't mean that you decide to give somebody respect or not. Respect is universal. Everybody deserves the same amount, and you thus deserve the same amount as well. Number two, zero tolerance for mediocrity. What that means is you don't have to win somebody else. You don't have to compete in a race. You just have to compete with yourself. You have to be at any point of time capable of answering, did I do the best that I could? You will never tolerate mediocrity from yourself. That doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. It doesn't any day mean that you have to win. It simply means that you will be able to stand in front of the mirror and answer, did I do my best? And the answer is yes, more often than not. It's the second thing you care about. And third, it's a double-edged sword, but we'll go there. The third is ownership. And ownership means you and only you are responsible for where you are in life and nobody else. I know this is hard hitting because it's like, oh, what about destiny? Oh, what about other people? Oh, what about the world? Oh, what about the environment? Do people who go through XYZ? They're like, I spoke about this on one of my videos, and then somebody asked me a hard hitting question. I didn't have the answer to that. It's like, do you think that the Jewish people in World War II would have felt the same way? Like, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just trying to teach my kid. So I don't know. I genuinely don't. But I'd love them to feel that they have to bear the consequences of their decisions. And nobody else should be responsible. One thing that happens in Indian families a lot. बच्चा चलना सीख रहा होता है, गिर जाता है, रोने लगता है, हम उसको उठा लेते हैं और फिर जमीन की पिटाई करना शुरू कर देते हैं. You remember that shit? How many of you have done that? This group, I'm telling you, is posturing like fuck. They are winning some war that I don't know what they signed up for. I love you, honest people. Imagine the message the kid is getting when they see, and of course they're like 6 months old, so they wouldn't be able to. But कहीं कुछ तो रह जाएगा उनके जहन में कि माँ पापा जब मैं गिरा था और मैं रो रहा था, जमीन को पीट रहे थे, तो मतलब जमीन की गलती थी. तो जिंदगी में मेरे साथ अगर कुछ भी ऐसा होगा जिसकी वजह से मैं रो रहा हूँ, किसी और की गलती है. And if you find that person, it's the easiest to complain. That's it, right? कि देश गलत है, सरकार गलत है, सड़कें गलत हैं, बॉस गलत है, पति पत्नी गलत है, बच्चे गलत हैं, माँ-बाप गलत हैं, लेकिन कोई और गलत है. आप दूध के धुले. And that is not, in my opinion, ownership. So these three things: respect, zero tolerance for mediocrity, and ownership. If they believe on these, that's it. We're home. हमारा काम हो गया, हम अच्छे से रिटायर हो सकते हैं, आगे बढ़ सकते हैं. We'll have the Q&A from the audience once. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That puts in so much voice to. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So next question. This is more relevant to all of us ourselves. Many of YFLO's members are very qualified, have worked in various corporate roles, but often they have found themselves at a juncture where they have started a family and then it has become difficult to get back to work. Sometimes circumstances dictate this choice, but often there is immense self doubt that creeps in. How does one overcome this and restore faith in oneself to find work that fulfills them?
I love that question. It's such a wonderful question to ask. Thank you, Aaradhana. I can only answer on my behalf, so I certainly cannot recommend anything to all of you because I nearly do not know what it is to be a woman, and I find that quite pompous of men standing here trying to give advice to women on what they have to do about life. YFLO के event
But
में
as a mentor,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no,
not
and that's when this is the exact twist that they bring in. Then YFLO में हमेशा होता है. What would you like to say to women entrepreneurs? Like, why would I have anything to say to women entrepreneurs? Why would you listen to a male entrepreneur trying to say anything to a woman entrepreneur? I have no idea what you go through. I genuinely do not. Stop listening to men for advice for yourself. Do that generically. There are people who have. Oh, please. I would go on record saying that. It is so bullshit when. But anyway, we're not going into that conversation. But the broader one, which is, and I will use Ruchi's example because she went through this, and I love the story that she built for herself, and I adore her for that. So she had only one ambition in life, not one, but one of her ambitions was to work for the Discovery Channel. She loves traveling, she loves the outdoors, and she always felt that somehow Discovery में सब लोग वही कर रहे होते हैं. Which is not true. सब जंगलों में नहीं घूम रहे होते हैं. But she wanted to do that, and lo and behold, it happened. In 2005, she was working with Outlook Traveler, which was again a fantastic place to be in as a magazine. I don't know how many of you remember that magazine. Uh, and she gets a call from Discovery, and she joins Discovery in the sales division, and she works there for 5 years, 2005 to 2010. And then she decides to take a break because she's just so done with the advertising industry, which is where she was in sales. Like I don't like it, and I don't want to be in here. I want to figure my things out. And then we had Vidur in 2011. So she like, I will devote myself to raising him, and she did that one for 2 years. Comes around 2013 or so, and she's now beginning to say, "Ab Vidur play school ja raha hai. I have some time on my hands. What should I do?" And she's asking the same questions that are there, and these are very genuine questions. How should I go about thinking? Should I go back to a job? Should I start on my own? Should I think of something else? And what I told her, which may be true for you, if not entirely, then to some extent, you don't have to work for money, which is a brilliant place to be. You don't have to work for money. There is no pressure for you to work for money because thankfully I'm taking care of that. And I would love to have been in your spot because now don't live life on what you think the world has set out for you. Go out and actually live it like you are 23 again and explore. I don't know what the right thing for you is. You don't know what the right thing for you is. But there's only one way to find out: explore. And when you explore, without putting the pressure of making money on that exploration, you allow yourself the liberty to make mistakes, to recover from it, to actually take your time to figure that answer out, and to get to an endpoint. So here's all that she began to do. 2013, she's like, I've done sales for all my life. That's something that I may be good at. So let me try sales again. But she wanted to do a different kind of sales. So she went and started representing creative outfits who sucked at selling, but were really good creatively and started selling on their behalf on a commission basis. No salary, nothing whatsoever. Whatever is the deal she closed, she gets about a 10% of it. Did that for about a year and a half. As part of that, she one day went for some event at a farm in Delhi, and she realized that that farm was an organic farm, and she really liked what was happening in that organic farm. And she then said, "Can I intern here?" And the founder was like, "Sure." So she started interning and learning about organic farming. And after some time, the founder was like, "Hey, do you want to sell for us?" Which is great. Let me just do that. So the next thing she was doing was setting up kitchen gardens for rich and famous people in Delhi, which were the organic farms and everything, and also selling organic farm plots, blah, 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 blah. She loved that as well. And then at some point of time, I was like, "Hey, do you want to help me?" I was like, "Sure, I can consider that as well." She did that. She's been doing that for a year and a half. At no point of time, at any point of time, was she earning more than 20,000 rupees a month. 20,000 a month. Like Aditya makes that in an hour. Really does. Really does. 20,000 a month. But she was immensely happy. She was so happy as I've never seen her because she was connected with the thing that she really wanted: nature, caring about the environment, genuinely making things happen without the use of fertilizers or chemicals or anything like that. And she would spend time in the Delhi hot sun, literally farming her way through and trying to sell that concept to others. Today, she does that with us as a brand, but she works for less than an hour and a half a day. The rest of the time, she's reading, she's exploring. She has now joined a pottery class. She has learned tennis for the longest time. We play tennis together, we work out together. She's having a different life that she loves to. And what she says, which is beautiful, and I wish more people said that, is I realized I don't want to be anywhere in life. I just realized that. I don't want to get to any point. I am happy living the moment that I am living right now. with my kids, with you, with myself, with my friends, with anything and everything that I'm doing. And I wish people had that. I wish more people felt that way. Because all of us are just constantly chasing, chasing, chasing. So the only thing that I can recommend, as much as it makes sense to you or not, is if you don't have the pressure of making money and you want to join the workforce because you want to have a meaningful part of your life devoted to something that you care about, then please don't follow the same diktat that the world has set out for you. Because then that's the same trap. Go out and explore. Find out what is it that you would love to do. Enjoy thoroughly. Do it even for peanuts because that is not the main reason why you would show up every day. But you would because it gives you existential joy. And if you find that spot, you will only have yourself to thank. And you will not only help yourself, but everyone around you, because at no point of time will you be questioning yourself anymore. Because you'll be so at peace with what you're doing and where you are in life that very few things will be able to touch you. But if you go down a playbook that somebody else has prescribed, and you're like, oh, corporate job or family business or XYZ or startup because I'm from a business family or whatnot, you will always find something nagging you. And the slightest, smallest thing will touch your self doubt and your confidence and shatter you. And you'll be like, what the fuck happened?
So you often talk about the pitfalls of social media. And well, you are one of the biggest social media stars. You have millions of followers. How do you deal with that dichotomy? And is it even a dilemma for real for Warikoo?
I don't know about Warikoo, but how many of you here claim to be addicted to social media? I can only expect honest responses from here. Oh, क्या हो गया सब ठीक है एकदम? So look, social media, at least for me, is fascinating because never before in global history have you had the opportunity to listen directly from the most meaningful people that could be out there, creating things that are genuinely their entire life's worth and sharing it with you. But it can be a disaster if you choose to use it for quote unquote entertainment. That's where the trap is. Because here's the truth, and I'm sure you know it, but it doesn't harm to call it out. The world's best engineers, the world's best engineers are working 24/7 to get you addicted to that app. You don't have a hope in hell to exercise your motivation to not be addicted. There is nothing that you can do to prevent that. The only thing that you can do is to follow the right kind of content. That's it. That is it. Which is at the rate Warikoo. No. Whatever is it that makes you feel worthy and not like shit. Like that for me is always a great way of thinking about it. I tell every 20-year-old, if you're following someone who makes you feel like your life is shit, you haven't done anything in life, just unfollow that person. Just unfollow that person. And more often than not, number one, the big mistake that we make, which is not the purpose of social media anymore. Please don't follow your friends and family. Please don't. Because all that you're doing is just stalking where your last vacation was. That's all that you're doing. You're just measuring their hotel when they haven't disclosed it, or checking the link on Instagram at the hotel that they went to at Fancy, Krabi, or whatnot. And that's all because then you're getting just sucked in, sucked in, sucked in. Because the scientist working at Meta is like, haha, told ya. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's why we needed the location centering. We want people to tag themselves at the Emirates business class lounge. We want people to do that. Even if they were just taking a leak and entered it with permission. No. Because then the next thing is, oh my God, this person is flying Emirates business class for like Delhi to Dubai. It's like a 2.5 hour flight. Why aren't we doing that? Please follow people whose content doesn't make you feel like shit. It actually propels you. It provokes you. It challenges you. It gets you food for thought. And it genuinely uplifts you. It uplifts you. So, why do, and this is not me saying it, this is stats, why do females and women, and particularly young women, suffer a lot more from social media addiction than male. One, because young men are just dumb, and all of you who have young boys know, like they're just so lost. फीते खुले हुए हैं, पैंट लटक रही है, बाल उग रहे हैं, कोई आइडिया नहीं है. You look at women their age and so on top of the game. They know exactly how to conduct themselves. They're like, we look at Uzma at 6 and she's performing way better than Vidur at 12. She, but anyway, the point that I'm making is it's also a trap because most of the content on social media is also centered towards women, particularly young women, which is about body shaming, which is about making you feel that you have to look a certain way to make it in life. You have to speak a certain way to make it in life. You have to dress a certain way to make it in life. You have to wear a certain brand to make it in life. And all of these are constructs. Then, much later in life, because thankfully the things that make men cool are like Lamborghinis and Porsches. तो मतलब 2.5 करोड़ के बाद वो औकात आएगी. वो 2.5 लाख में आ ही नहीं सकती. तो वो 30 पे सोचेंगे. But there are women who can easily afford, say, a Gucci or a Louis Vuitton, if that's the right pronunciation, in a few lakhs on their birthday. Because no, please, mama, papa, please, 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 and शायद आ जाएगा. लेकिन लड़के क्या ही कर लेंगे? फुटबॉल मांग लेंगे या ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा. So the odds are.
And now it's changing.
We cannot compare Air Jordans to Gucci and Louis Vuitton. One, because I'm told, and I don't follow both. Why am I getting into this? The long story short is social media is a trap and an addiction that you cannot get away from. So if you are facing that trap, the shortest thing that you can do is make it invisible, delete the app, or certainly remove it from your home screen. Like if I were to see your home screen right now, and I love that exercise, we don't have that liberty right now for time, but your home screen says a lot about you. Your home screen says a lot about you. And your home screen and the direct access to whichever apps are there on will define your addiction. Your social media app should not ever be on your home screen. They should be hidden in some folder. Folder will be called Shirdi Sai Baba or something, and will be on the last screen of your phone. Sorry?
And notifications.
So, and the second thing you do, all these are constructions, these are hacks. You remove search for those social media apps on your phone. I'm assuming most of you have an iPhone. Yes, you can do that. Third, you put up time limits on all your apps. And time limit is also easy to bypass because we were like, oh, you have 1 more minute. Do you want to extend it by 15 more minutes? I'm like, only 15, only 15, only 15. And next thing you know, 15 ghante ho chuke hain. So you put a passcode. But who puts the passcode? Not you, your spouse. And your spouse, of course, is vindictive. So they will never share the passcode with you because that's the clear instruction you would give them. They set that passcode and you never get to see that passcode. You do the same thing with the kids as well, by the way. And I hope that you are rationing it. But the ration is not just about the kind of content that they watch, but also the time that they have it and what all do they have access to. All of these mechanisms are there on the technology thing right now. Please use them. Don't make that success. Please. Yeah. Yeah. It's a brilliant question. Let me just ask the question again so that everyone hears it. How do you ensure that kids feel secure in their own self-image? Because that's where all of this is stemming from. And social media is just a manifestation of that. You answered the question. As a parent, the best gift that you can give your child right now at the stage that they are in is not to congratulate them on their victory, but to applaud them for the values that they exhibit on a daily basis and over index on that. For example, how often have you, if one of your kids were, let's say, to walk into Hyatt, and the Darban opens the door. I'm assuming most of you would say thank you, but it's possible that if your kids walk through, they will not. If they did, how many of you would actually stop and say, you know what? That was a wonderful thing to do. That's it. It needs to be everyone. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. You have to over index on your kids' self image. Of all the things that they're doing, which are quote unquote the right values, are endorsed. Because nobody else in this world will do it for them. They wouldn't. None of their kids will. Their peers will, in fact, mock him if they were to see him saying thank you to the Darban or the gatekeeper in the society or the maid or anybody else. You're like, "तो पागल हो गया क्या है? वो तो नौकर है." And there are enough and more kids who will be grown with that value, and then your kid will be like, क्या मैं सच में पागल हूँ? मैं क्यों इनको thank you बोल रहा हूँ? हाँ पापा बोलते हैं, पर शायद वो भी पागल है. And that's it, because you have never actually told them how this thing will ultimately help them in the why. And that's it. Just over index on that. Whenever they put in effort for a certain project, and for whatever reason they don't get the grade and so on, just applaud them for the effort that they've put in and say that that is actually the thing that will hold you in good faith at the end of it all, so on and so forth. Just keep hammering down the right values, and over time you'll be surprised at how much their self-image would have actually positively constructed itself.
Well, for the fun part now, we have our very own Divya Jain, who's going to shoot a rapid fire with Ankur. Divya, can we please have you on stage?
Divya and her rapid fire.
In for trouble.
How are you?
Thank you, Ankur, so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I've done this once before, just before COVID stuff, and we had a blast. So we have rapid fire. Ankur, you only get to answer this in a few words.
Okay.
Right?
It's like बहुत बोलती हो तुम.
मैंने नहीं बोला. Okay. So, the theme that we have for the year is Because She Can. And I'd love to ask you rapid fire, short answers.
Okay.
What can a woman do?
Everything.
What question would you ask Chat GPT?
What makes you so smart?
Two women who inspire you, but you cannot be related to them.
Madam Curie and Sudha Murthy.
What is your favorite content piece that you created? A reel or any social media piece that you've created? What is your favorite?
एक माँ अपने बच्चों के बीच में कभी अंतर नहीं कर सकती. I wouldn't be creating it if I didn't believe in it. Every piece of it, even the shit one.
Not making you choose between your pick, but okay.
No, I was kidding.
Okay, what do you enjoy about success?
It's no. It's actually not everything. But I'll tell you my sorry, a slightly long answer. Slightly long answer. Like एकदम permission लेनी पड़ती है मैम से. The best moment for me is every single time somebody writes in saying, "This is what I needed to hear today." That's it. That is success, and that is the best part about it, because people have that capability and that access to me where they would say, "This is what I needed to hear today."
I felt that multiple times in the past 1 hour.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you
for
so much.
everyone in this room,
Thank
right?
you.
Like
Thank
let's
you.
write to him.
Thank you.
Hashtag Ankur Warikoo, hashtag because she can.
Yeah.
Let everyone know that we were here. What would Ankur do on a cheat day?
Eat a whole pizza.
Okay, we have pizzas on the menu today. We've done this before, but I'm going to ask this again. What is Ankur's most useless skill?
Oh, I can spin a book on my my middle finger. I can spin a book on my middle finger as long as it's hard enough. Hey, this is too small. This is too small. We designed it so that I don't play with the book.
Come on.
I can't do it. I can't do it with this one. I hardly can. नहीं हो पाएगा. No, it has to be a big enough book. Then I use my physics center of gravity and कुछ technical चीजें.
Try to कर
नहीं, but थोड़ा सा.
सकते.
Can't. Don't go
Okay.
ooh on this.
Okay, final. Who would you take out for dinner? Where?
Who would I take out for dinner?
Yeah, who's the one person that you would like to go out for dinner with? And where?
It could be anyone.
It could be anyone.
Living or dead?
Living.
Preferably
Both.
living.
मुर्दा लाशों के साथ खाना खाने में बड़ा मजा आता है. Dead, certainly one person that I would love to meet is Gautam Buddha. I think like brilliant life, like what a life. I just totally loved it. We went to Bhutan recently and felt a lot more of him. Living, I think it will be Shah Rukh Khan.
Please call us next time when you're meeting.
Please call me if you have him ever.
Okay, deal.
So, deal. We will do that. Paka. Barter.
Great. That's it for the rapid fire. Thank you so much. If we have time, we'd love to do a Q&A with the
Please.
audience.
Yes.
Before that, should we do the podcast? Right. So I spoke about 4 pillars of YFLO. The first is learning. Someone's going to tell me the second one? Community network. This is a brilliant group. Networking, community development. I spoke about a fourth, and the fourth is digital. Right? I think in today's day and age, we need to be digital. There are 500 of us, but there are millions of us out there. And we do at YFLO look at taking this message out beyond us. And with Ankur's permission, we would love to have you launch the BecauseSheCan podcast, where we are looking to women, to change makers. We're talking to them, talking about their stories from our community and beyond. So I would love for you to launch this for us.
Fantastic. How do you launch a podcast? You, Is there a video that plays?
Yeah, so maybe you can say best of luck.
Absolutely. I will do that once the video is there. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for that. And the floor is yours if you're willing to take a
Thank
few
you.
questions.
Yes. We I'm okay to go on till 6:30 if that works. Yeah. And no pressure, please feel free to leave as well. There's absolutely no pressure. Please, yes. Can we have the
Can we
mic?
start with the questions, please?
Thank you. Hi, Ankur. I'm Sadiksha. I'm the co-founder of Necessera. So, Ankur, you spoke a lot about like marriage and kids. I'm unmarried and don't have children, of course. So, any life advice for me?
What are you expecting? How old are you, if you don't mind? Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So my only advice to you would be don't feel the pressure to settle. And when I say settle, I don't just mean settle personally, like married and kid and blah blah blah, but even settle professionally. You're a founder, and I'm sure you're on a great journey. It will not be easy by any measure. You will have your hard days. You will have your moments of doubt. You will feel like whether you're doing the right thing or not. You will have comparisons suck you in and make you believe like, oh my God, I must be the only dumb one in the planet. But truth is that there is this joy that patience allows you, and that is what I would love for you to experience. Just explore different sides of you. You don't have to die with this startup that you started. You don't have to commit to it for the next 5-10 years. You can very well decide at any point of time that maybe it's not working, or maybe it's working in a very different way from what I thought it would be. Don't fixate yourself to what you think you are, because you're constantly changing. So is the world. So be fluid. As long as you're that, you will certainly enjoy that motion a lot more. Right? Don't settle. Keep exploring. Thank you. Yes, I'll come to you next then. Please. Oh, sorry. All right. 1 and then 2 and then 3. Yes, please.
Hi, Ankur.
Hi.
The question that I have for you is, why do you rate emotional intelligence as one of the most important key skills to have?
Why?
Yes.
Oh, because at the end of it, and this is just my belief, and I'm sure all of you agree with me here, at the end of it, everything, every job, every interaction, every exchange boils down to people. Boils down to people. Every job ultimately boils down to people. Every one of you who's a founder, you may believe that you're responsible for sales and revenue and blah, 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 blah. Yes, you are. But everything ultimately boils down to people. And people are unpredictable, emotional, biased, influenced, and several other things, concoction. And no one person is the exact same way. यहीं रख दीजिए भैया, नीचे रख दीजिए. Thank you. And that means that the only way for anybody of us to be able to do a good job of living life is to be emotionally aware. And that means two things for me. One, emotional regulation. That means you are very well aware of your own emotions and you know how to deal with them, not control them, but be aware of them. And second is emotional understanding, which is you understand why or why not somebody is feeling the way that they're feeling emotionally so that you can put yourself in their shoes and see the world from their perspective. If you don't have that, it's frankly game over because the only thing that you rely on then is brute force, IQ, and making things happen. And that may work, but doesn't in all circumstances. Certainly doesn't work in the professional, sorry, in the personal capacity. Perfect.
Oh.
Sorry, can I?
You go first.
Yeah.
Hi, Ankur.
Yes.
I just need to ask, when you were talking about friendships, what did you mean by like hire friends or fire them? It's not like a business deal. Then how are you supposed to trust people if you go with that mindset?
Oh, yeah. You, when you hire your employees and you fire employees, does that mean that you don't trust them? Yeah, exactly. When you hire someone, you don't hire somebody to fire them. You hire them because you've gone, have a seat. Because you've gone through a round of evaluation, you've gathered what is it that they bring to the table, what is it that you have to offer, and you feel that that's a nice, happy mix, and you then bring them on board. But for whatever reason, whether immediately or sometime in the future, things don't work out, and you just recognize they are not benefiting or you're not from them, you end up firing. And that firing also doesn't mean you fired. It could very well mean, you know what, this isn't working out. Why would you be in it? Because you're not going to grow if you're in it. We're not going to see the best of you come out of it. So I think it's a adult thing for us to move on, where you find a space where you can prosper at, and we find somebody that we can draw the most from. It's the exact same thing with friendships as well. So hiring and firing, unfortunately, have these very strong constructs, almost are like a army term. But the truth is, you can very well, and I have at least in my life, fired friends. It's like, you know what? We were friends and we outgrew each other. We're very different people now. And trust me, if you were to ever call me, I will pick up the phone and I will help you. But I don't need to be an active part of my life, of your life. You don't have to be an active part of my life. And can we be adults about it? I'm like, yeah, sure. And that's it. You fired them. And the same way you find someone else, irrespective of how old you are, where you just connect. And you connect because you're a very different person, seeking a very different kind of mindset from that. And you just find someone there and you hire them. But it's an active act of recognizing how your relationships influence you that makes you centered, because at the end of it, they have a very strong influence on the stories you hear. That just makes up how the stories in our head make our identity visible. Yeah. So, please. Yeah, one here and then we can go to you, please. Yeah. Hi. Okay. Can we have the mic so that everyone can hear the question, please?
So thank you so much for sharing your wise story with us. At some point of time, we all feel the same. And I was definitely thinking that, and I'm so relieved, like hearing her story. And my question to you is that you were talking about your job changing, you're leaving, you're creating something, then you're leaving it. What about your employees? How did they feel? They thought you as a quitter, or were they demotivated, or were they like, okay, we have reached a stage where we don't need him? Like,
That's a
how?
terrific question. Thank you. Thank you for asking this question. Did you say butcher? I'm just trying to. Is that what you use? No, I'm just. Okay, all right. Oh, quitter. Oh, I was like, did they think of you as a butcher? I'm like, butcher, पता नहीं here's the good thing, and I hope I'm not drinking my own Kool-Aid when I say this. So I will not be the right person to answer this because, of course, it comes from my perspective. But from observation, the one thing that I believe is one of my superpowers is the ability to build a team and to give them the right cultural values to conduct themselves. I want to be the first person dispensed in a team. I don't think of myself as the most important one. I don't want to be the most important one. I certainly don't want to be the one calling the shots. I want to give people a order and a process and a value system to just make sure that they know what they have to do whenever they are in doubt. So when I left, I actually felt the same way that you're feeling. What will they do? Will they think of me as a quitter? Will they think of me as somebody who's abandoning them and so on? But much to my surprise, and I think this is the outcome of the hard work that we put in over several years, none of that happened. None of the senior management left. They continued to, and the culture of the company stood its ground because what I had done, and not just me, of course, several people in motion, we had built something that was far bigger than an individual, and that just stayed. It just wonderfully stayed. And once that happened, then it was like, you know what? You've built an institution, and it's not a company anymore, and that institution will just stay far beyond you, which is what my goal would be for anything that I build, and I'm trying to as well. But it worked out, so I know that it works. And that was a good experiment that I realized. Thank you. Please, now, she's been waiting, and then I'll come to you.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I loved what you said about the values that you wanted to impart to your children, how that was the key thing. And I've always thought that to be extremely important. But we struggle with the thought of how does one impart these values. So, going back to your example about the Darban over here, right? I was always told that by example, children will follow. Children don't follow my example, they follow their peers. And you're right, the peers mock it. Peers don't think this is cool. Then how do we as parents of today's teenage, and I've been a mom like 10 years plus, me hammering it down their head, you must be thankful, you must be pleased, you must be respectful, वो तो नहीं काम करता. What works?
So it certainly doesn't. Prescription doesn't work. कि ये करो, ये मत करो, ये मत करो, ये करो, because they are in that age of rebellion where we were also. We just felt that जो हमारे माँ बाप उस समय बोल रहे थे वो बकवास ही था और हमें ही पता था. Now we all recognize parents were right all along. We wish. The way to do that is twofold. One of which you already said. You lead by example. But the thing about examples is that it's not the example that sets the example, it's the consistency of the example that sets the example. What I mean by that is, we are always looking to find a flaw in a system that we don't want to inherently adopt. For example, you want your kids to be thankful. That starts from saying thank you to whosoever is helping them in whatever way. They find you doing that 8 out of 10 times. They will not latch on to those 8. They will latch on to the 2 when you did. Because they don't want to follow it by design. They feel it's forced. So they are looking for loopholes in the process as designed by you as an example. So you have no choice but to consider yourself as a celebrity whose every move is measured. Everything you say, every act of yours, every decision of yours sets a standard for your kids. And that is going to define how they think about you as an example. If they're like, हाँ तो कभी थैंक्स बोल देती है कभी नहीं बोलती है 5 स्टार होटल में बोल देती है नॉर्मल रेस्टोरेंट में नहीं बोलती है आई एम नॉट जजिंग यू बट इट्स पॉसिबल सागर रत्ना में किसने कभी किसी को थैंक यू बोला है नहीं बोला है हंसी में घुस जाते हैं लेकिन आयत में बोलेंगे तो दे सी दैट ऑर्डर लाइक अमीर जगहों पे थैंक यू चलता है कभी किसी ने धन्यवाद तो सुना भी नहीं होगा लेकिन कोट एंड कोट गरीब जगहों पे घुस जाओ थैंक यू भी मत बोलना. So that's the first thing, consistency example. The second is They will learn from their peers. That's their age. It's a beautiful absorption strategy. Imagine you don't have one teacher for your kids, you have multiple teachers for your kids. You may think that they are not great company, but at the end of it, that's how we've learned as well. And we've made our choices along the way. What you ought to do is not to tell them this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. You ought to give them a guideline or a framework to evaluate how to decide what's right or what's wrong. So here's something that we would do. Let's say they are trying to, and this is by the way, no, it happens. So we don't stay in Gurgaon or we don't stay in South Delhi, we stay in Faridabad. And they're like, Faridabad कौन रहता है? और कुछ लोग रहते हैं हमारे जैसे. And हम फरीदाबाद के one of the few high rises में, which is like a slightly posh area, not magnolias, but magnolias divided by 10. वहाँ के बच्चे, because they are from Faridabad, but they're the rich Faridabad, they're like, no, हमारे बच्चे मिट्टी में नहीं खेलेंगे, बारिश में नहीं नहाएंगे. वो ऐसे एक्सेंट में बोलते नहीं है, I'm just making shit up. मिट्टी में नहीं खेलेंगे, बारिश में नहीं नहाएंगे, कुत्तों को पूछ नहीं करेंगे, सिर्फ पेट डॉग्स को करेंगे, कि स्ट्रे डॉग्स कुछ भी हो सकता है, ब्ला ब्ला. हम ऐसा कुछ नहीं करते. अगर मिट्टी में खेलना है खेलो, बारिश में नहाना है नहाओ, कुत्तों को कुछ करनी है करो, कुछ भी करना है. It's your choice. But the way to think about right or wrong is what is the consequence of this? That's how you have to think about it. So if you do play in the mud, what do you think is the reason people say you shouldn't play in the mud? And it's cute that they often say कपड़े खराब हो जाते हैं. It is usually health कि कीड़े मकोड़े होंगे उसके अंदर, या किसी कुत्ते ने सुसु पॉटी कर दी होगी, and then suddenly वो के नाखूनों में, फिर उनके मुंह में. Like, it could be endless. All of this is, by the way, paranoia. We grew up in a very different thing. Like literally, कुछ भी उठा के कुछ भी खा रहे थे. But anyway, they often think it is about offending the mom or the parent because कपड़े गंदे हो जाएंगे. And thankfully, then the ads come in, which is like, no, दाग अच्छे हैं. Thank God for that. That's one part of the problem solved. But then, what else is the problem? The problem is that it's possibly unhygienic. What happens if it's unhygienic? Well, you could transfer some dirt. All right, great. How do you prevent that? Well, you wash your hands the minute you come in. And that's what has happened. Our kids, and I don't say that we are the best parents out there, I don't remember a single time where they would enter house and not wash their hands, irrespective of where they've been. Even if they were playing in the mud or not, or doing anything else. The first thing they do is bathroom mein jaake haath dhote. What that does is they have got this framework to think about things. Now you extend that to people. Hey, you're hanging out with Ankur. Ankur is this rich brat जिसको अपने पापा और मम्मी का बिजनेस मिलने वाला है. उसको बोला गया है कि स्कूल में हमारे खानदान से कोई भी नहीं जाता, तुम्हें हम भेज रहे हैं क्योंकि आजकल कूल है. लेकिन ही नोस कि उसको जाके पापा और मम्मा का धंधा संभालना है. तो ही इज इन अ वेरी डिफरेंट थिंग कि एयर जॉर्डन खरीदते हैं और यूरोप जाते हैं और बिजनेस क्लास मर्सिडीज खरीदते हैं, एमिरेट्स बिजनेस क्लास में रहते हैं. तुम अगर इसके साथ हैंग आउट करोगे and you can be friends with him, what do you think could be the consequences of this friendship? And let them think about that. They will first be very emotional. They're like, that's my friend. How can I be like, I really enjoy my time with him. He helps me with really cool things. He shows me these cool gadgets. He shows these cool toys with school, blah, 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 blah. That is great. What could be the consequences of that? Consequences of that. And at the end of it, the only question you're asking is, are you happy with that consequence? Are you happy the person you're becoming? Or are you happy with all the experiences that you're going through? And it's amazing how many kids self-select. They self-select. We don't treat them like adults. We treat them like kids. We treat them like they don't know any better, but they know. We all know. That's how we grew up. So there's no reason why they would. Don't think that they are born in a more miserable world than we were born in. Nah, the world's only getting better. If you ever believe that the world's getting bad, read this book called Factfulness. Factfulness. It's a book that will convince you that the world is, by design, dramatically better than it ever was. We're living in the best era of humankind ever. but we were all like, "अरे, इतने सारे खून, इतने सारे एक्सीडेंट, अब atomic vehicles भी आ गए हैं और वो भी होने वाला है," and so on and so forth, and then that just gets
We'll just take one more question from Neha and then
great.
Hi.
Thank you.
So I wish that the men could have heard this talk also. There was so much of it. I wish my husband had heard.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you something. As as a girl or as a child, one is brought up to please people. You know, you're brought up, you're told when you get married, adapt, go into this family, and be good, and please whoever you are with. And for me, the last 1 year was transitional where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Where 15 years I felt I've pleased enough, and still the people are not pleased, it's not going to happen. So I decided to just make myself happy and not care about that. But the what happened 2 days ago, something happened with my daughter. She's 9, and she went and there was this teacher who was convincing her how she should study through the holidays, and I was like, she's not doing it. And she came back to me, but Mama, the teacher will not be happy with me, and you will not be happy with me. And a part of me broke because I was like, how much of this people pleasing have I put in that 9-year-old that she can't even think about enjoying herself? And that's what I wanted to ask you. What's your take on being a people pleaser and how to break out of that world?
I'm not qualified to give that answer. In part because I'm one. Certainly used to be a maniac people pleaser when I was growing up. I wizened much like you, but it wasn't last 1 year. It was some time back. So thank you not to go through 15 years that you have been through. I'll make one recommendation. There's this lady called Dr. Nicole Lapera. She's on Instagram. Dr. Nicole Lapera. She goes by the handle the Holistic Psych. Follow her because she, in my opinion, is one of the best people out there talking really high quality stuff around all of these childhood experiences slash traumas. A large part of that being people pleasing. And she has wonderful nuggets and pieces of advice for people young as well as our age to navigate through that. If you're a book reader, pick up her book, which is How to Do the Work. It is an incredible book and one of the most decisive books one could read for themselves. It's not a book for kids, so you certainly can't give it to them. But if you were to read it and if you were to follow her content and then absorb whatever it is and then feed it back into your child, I think that will be a wonderful way to get that done. Yeah. How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole Lapera, Lapera. Lapera.
I'm so sorry, but
No, please, of
we need
course,
to
you're doing a
start
job.
wrapping up, and you can keep Ankur outside as long as you want. Formally um, start wrapping up. Thank you, Ankur, for that absolutely amazing session. I think we laughed, cried, dug deep, and are ready to take on the world and make it our own. It goes without saying, but by popular demand, you may have to come back again and again to YFLO and have these conversations with us.
Please.
Of course. Yeah. If you get Shah Rukh Khan along, all the better. But before we let you go today, we would like to express our gratitude to the people who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes. Firstly, thank you to our YFLO chair, Divya Jain, for bringing Ankur to YFLO. Thank you to Kaveri and the entire committee for working tirelessly. Thank you to our sponsors, Safe Express, Safe Educate, Kajaria Tiles, CA Experts, SkinZest, Trident, JK Lakshmi Cement, M3M, Orica, Surbi Modi, and Mayank Group. A big thank you to our social media and communications team, Anubhav Tripathi and Swati Sharma. Thank you, Rekha ji, for the support in coordinating everything. Thank you to Abhishek Berry and his team for the audio, visuals, and sound setup. Thank you to the Hyatt Regency for this beautiful venue and for your hospitality. May I now please invite our past chair, Mrs. Vasvi Bharatram and Divya Jain, along with Vasundhara from Orica, on stage to present Ankur with a token of appreciation.
Also, can we have the committee on stage for a quick committee picture?
Sorry, it's just for the committee. Can we please have the committee on stage?
All good. Super. राशि है ना ये रही हाँ वही देखो कहाँ गई You know, I was asking about
Congratulations. All set.
Oh man. मुझे लग रहा है
आप